It's Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Since 2010, your weekly source for independent New York Red Bulls news and opinion. Now, from the Joe Goldstein studio, here's your host, Mark Fishkin.
We are here tonight to bask in the glory of a 7 spot dropped on the defending MLS Cup champs. I'm going with the White Wedding. Dan Rebain is here as well. Dan, do you have a name? Is there a moniker right now that you're thinking of for what this match was?
I just went with Home Red Wedding West. I mean, there's a couple that I've been throwing around right after the final whistle. So, what a game! I mean, finally we get some excitement in the building at home. You know, a 7 spot. Like nobody expected that, especially in the rematch. We'll get into more of that, but yeah, what a match that was.
Phenomenal. A feel-good moment for the Red Bulls after, frankly, a couple of months of just kind of paddling around the middle of the Eastern Conference. It's Seeing Red, in case you didn't know, the New York Soccer Roundup. I'm Mark Fishkin. He's Dan Rebain over there. Tonight on Seeing Red, 7 goals. We're going to talk about what it means. We're going to break them down. We're going to talk about who stood out. The answer is everybody. We're going to prep for Nashville away. Ben Wright from 615 Soccer is our guest, and some fantastic emails. Do the liking and subscribing, please, if you would right now. For my money, LA's wearing white. We've got a red wedding. This is the White Wedding. Saturday night was a release of frustration for Red Bull fans have been feeling for a while. LA didn't have any DPs that were healthy. Not a single DP played in this game, and New York's 2 DPs performed like DPs. Forsberg, Choupo-Moting ran roughshod over a hapless LA team that was playing a brand new formation for the first time with a 5-man back. It didn't work. The Red Bulls were up 2-0 inside of 32 minutes. They were 4-0 inside of 50 minutes. And the capper was a magnificent own goal in the 93rd to seal it. That magic number 7. The White Wedding is here. Dan, I mean, just a magic night, one of those special nights in Harrison. What did you take away? What are the favorite moments that you had?
I like how you brought up LA not having any of their DPs. I noticed that instantly when their lineup came out. I was like, oh, this is a completely different team. Like they have no attacking talent other than Marco Reus, and obviously at his age, he can't really do everything by himself. But what I take away from this is that Choupo-Moting actually had his swagger in his game from this one. I instantly saw that after he scored his first goal, where he took the ball into the right corner and he did a couple of step overs, beat his man to the left, then nutmegged him to the right and got fouled. It wasn't called, but I think that kind of showed where his game was at that time in the game. And obviously he goes on to score another goal, and I think he's starting to make it. If anything showed from this game, hopefully, he takes this and runs with it going forward into other games. But this was definitely the first game where I was like, oh yes, this is the Choupo-Moting that I know. This is the guy that, he has that skill, that individual skill that he's shown at the international level in the Bundesliga over the years. So that was my big takeaway from this game.
Yeah, he was active. His feet were active.
Yes, exactly.
He was moving swiftly, deftly, like you said, moving through defenders, just kind of a Choupo-Moting. We hadn't seen a whole lot of taking players on, beating them off the dribble to the ball. Really a ton of energy.
That first goal, was just all him.
It was all him. Forsberg with a nice flip, but creating that goal was all Choupo-Moting. And then, Forsberg, 2 goals and 2 assists, one of the prettier free kick goals you will see. Took a fantastic pass from Valencia. really, and we'll talk about Omar Valencia. Omar Valencia has 5 assists. Omar Valencia is, I don't want to say he's making people forget about John Tolkien, but is kind of a surprise first team signing and multiple impressive matches. Like, he's coming. He's doing a great job. I want to focus on Forsberg, though. Again, 2 goals, 2 assists. A great finish off the feed from Valencia, the deft passing to Chupo, and a phenomenal free kick goal. I mean, this was his finest game in a New York uniform by far. He's named MLS Player of the Match Day. Just absolutely magic. Cam Harper back, making it happen with the goal. Dennis Yengar gets a goal. Mohamed Sofo with a nice assist. I mean, there was just you can make the argument that Colorado Springs put up more of a fight in the Open Cup match on Tuesday night against LA. I mean, once they were down, I think it was either 2-0 or 3-0. I mean, they just quit. I mean, I haven't seen anything like it at the pro level in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, when you saw LA had a few chances in that first half, they just, again, with their attacking talent, just don't have that individual skill. They missed multiple chances to get on the board, to get back in the game. They just didn't take it. And another thing that stood out was everybody that came off the bench made an impact. I mean, seeing Victor Bogash come onto the field, use his pace and size to get inside position on players. Like, he had multiple chances to pick up assists. The first one where he's sprinting down the left side and cuts it back to Cameron Harper and just gets stuck in his feet. But then again, a few minutes later, down the right side, and he has that patience to find a late running Dennis Gengar, and he scores his second of the season. So just everything hit for Red Bull this game. It was basically, I would say it was a perfect game.
You can't really argue it.
No. Obviously, they give up the couple of chances, but Carlos Cornell makes those saves. So overall, I think this was a 10 out of 10 performance all around. Midfield was solid. Everybody was being a playmaker, and that's one of the things that's missing from this team is everybody kind of stepping up to help a guy like Emil Forsberg out, because obviously he's got that quality. We've seen it: 2 goals, 2 assists today, player of the week. But he can't do everything himself, and we've already seen that this year. So it was great to see kind of everybody get involved. And you brought up Omar Valencia. I mean, I've been talking about this guy since last year, basically with the twos. Like, he's shown this quality down the left side, and he's taking his chance this year. Obviously they brought in Marcelo Morales, who's dealing with injury since arriving. I mean, right now this is Omar Valencia's job, and he potentially could be in the running for Panama's left back going forward if he keeps playing like this. 5 assists, most assists in the league by a defender. So it's just not the assist. He's a lot of times in the right position. His pace is vibrant. His youthfulness is there. You even saw him kind of step up for Emil Forsberg late in the game when he got tackled. He was the first one in there. Obviously Noah Ella comes in there and does the first push, but Omar Valencia is right in there. So he's up for the fight anytime. So overall, a great performance from this team.
Just a magic performance. Footmob gave Forsberg a 9.6 rating on. I mean, there's literally nothing more.
Gotta get that hat trick.
Get that hat trick. Victor Bogash with his first MLS point with his assist on Yengar's goal. So again, a great performance against a bad team. And we've seen New York play down to the level of their opponent multiple times during the spring. They handled Toronto, but it was close. They lost at home to not a great DC United team. They beat Montreal 1-0, just grinded it out. And, they lost to the Revs, like teams that are just kind of, just also rans, just teams that are going to be hanging out around the playoff line by the end of the year. And I thought that this was, I mean, I didn't expect 7, but I don't think anybody did. But this was the week that they actually showed to all of their ability in the same match. They were creative. They finished. They were playing, the Bryn Mawr JV squad. But at the end of the day, I thought it was a really there's nothing to complain about. The one thing that I've noticed is in a lot of what the media has talked about, because New York is a team that nobody really has anything interesting to say about. It's really all about the opponent, and LA's at bottom, and this is horrific. And, I think while the press certainly has lauded both Forsberg and Choupo-Moting this week, I don't know. Like, do you put an asterisk on this game because the Red Bulls were playing with LA without any of their DPs?
I mean, you play who's in front of you at the end of the day. I thought it was a weak LA team, and obviously it showed on the field. But what I take from this is we're seeing what Red Bull could be at their peak. When they're playing loose, when they're playing with how the boys said after the game, when they're playing like they're having fun.
Yeah,
this is the type of performance that they could put out. So, I mean, I think that's just, mainstream media kind of just saying, trying to get some stories or clicks out of, a bad LA team, unfortunately. At this point, they're winless in 12. So, obviously, there's a story there, especially them coming off MLS Cup, which they beat us last year 5 months ago. But, I think it is what it is at the end of the day.
All right. The win lifts New York. First of all, helps big time in the goal differential discussion. New York now a +6 in the goal differential discussion. They scored 19 on the season. 37% of those goals came in one match against LA. They're up to 7th on the table, but consider they're only 2 points out of 11th on the wrong end. They're only 3 points out of 4th. The East still remains tight. And there's a game coming up on Wednesday, and then another game coming up on Sunday, and then another game, and then another game as we're in this May death march. Ball of the match, Forsberg, you're the league player of the match day. Also, Choupo-Moting gets team of the match day. Omar Valencia gets match day bench. Just all around goodness and vibes. All right, so Wednesday at 7:30. When's the game?
8:30.
8:30. Thank you. 7:30 Central. The Red Bulls visit Nashville. Let's dig in and talk about Nashville SC. It's the second time that these teams have met this season. Nashville having a good year. 6-4-2 for 20 points. That's good enough for 5th in the East. They've scored 22 and allowed 15 in 12 matches. The second best attack in the East. Only the Philadelphia Union have scored more. They have the second most XG in MLS. Only San Jose have generated more expected goals. They lead in shots on target per match. I know the Red Bulls are not leading there. They also are. They have the most penalties awarded in MLS with 7. That's Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge getting into the box and earning penalties, and they can't be discounted. They're 5-1-1 at home, which is tied with the Red Bulls for the best home record in MLS. And as much as down as we are about everything that's happened with the loss to DC, things are still pretty good. Nashville is doing really well. They're 3-1-1 in their last 5 in all comps. They have a 7th spot among their last 5. They got trucked at Seattle. That was 4 games ago, so they're unbeaten in 4. A 7-2 win at Chicago versus Chicago at home. The goal scorers, Surridge had 4 in that match, including 2 penalty kicks. Palacios and Hani Mukhtar had a brace at home against Chicago. They had a 1-1 draw at Atlanta. They got by the Chattanooga Red Wolves in the Open Cup, squeaked by on a goal in the 16th minute. On the 6th, and then last time out, they beat a strong Charlotte side 2-1. All the goals coming in this match within 5 minutes in the second half. Nashville went down and got back on top within 5 minutes. When we talk about what is going on with Nashville, let's talk about it. It's no secret under Gary Smith, Nashville had garnered a reputation for being boring and playing defensive, negative soccer, as we spoke when Nashville came into town. But this team has got B.J. Callahan, Ventnor, New Jersey, former U.S. men's national team interim coach. They're playing some beautiful soccer, including that 7-2 win over the Fire. But Hani Mukhtar is still the man that makes it go with 5 goals and 3 assists. He's still made headlines. He has been the central cog. Started a little bit slow. We'll talk to Ben Wright about that, but he has picked it up. This team has been playing without Walker Zimmerman. Back in April, he's missed 6 straight games, but Nashville's lost only one of those games. Colombian center back Jason Palacios has started in his place, and he has not missed a beat, including some rock-solid performances. This is the 8th all-time meeting between the Red Bulls and Nashville SC. You can see on the screen, or you can hear now, that Red Bull leads 3-0-4 against Nashville. And I know you know what that means. And that means that Nashville has never beaten the New York Red Bulls ever. And you know that they're on a roll, and they're playing at home, and the Red Bulls are winless at home, and they're feeling pretty good about Wednesday being the night. In fact, Nashville has scored only one time in the 7 prior meetings against New York. The last time these teams met, the Red Bulls had a 2-0 victory way back on March 1st, excuse me. I should say, yeah, March 1st. Sofo got Choupo-Moting's rebound off the goal post in the 7th minute, and Emil Forsberg had a goal in the 30th, and that was all she wrote. In Nashville, the Red Bulls have a win and 2 draws, and the last time these teams played, it was a scoreless draw back in February of 2024. And if you can believe it, the all-time leading scorer against Nashville for the Red Bulls is
insane.
Fabio. Where are you, Fabio?
What a name.
So many step overs, so many bicycle kick attempts. Active scorers include Mohamed Sofo and Forsberg, who scored this year, and Kyle Duncan. Here's a look at BJ Callahan's prospective 4-4-1-1. Joe Willis, we know him, 3 clean sheets this year. In the net, along the back line, it's Daniel Lovitz. You'll love it. At Lovitz, Jack Marr, Jason Palacios, and 32-year-old Andy Nahar. Our old friend Alex Muil has a goal and an assist this season for Nashville SC. Edvard Tagseth and Patrick Yazbek are the 6s, and they have been good stuff. Jacob Schaffelberg has a goal as well, the 25-year-old Canadian national. There's Hani Mukhtar in the middle, 5-3, and Sam Surridge with 6-1 on the season. This is a good team, Dan. They're playing at home. They are ripe. They're in form. The only thing that's interesting, and you'll hear me talk about this with Ben Wright, this is one of the oldest teams in MLS. There are 2 players on this team younger than 25 on the starting lineup, and they're both the 6s. And I wonder, as Nashville is facing the same gauntlet that the Red Bulls are, playing 9 times in the month of May, and there's been some squad rotation, but are we going to start to see perhaps those older legs? I mean, Mukhtar's 30. I don't know if he goes past the 70th minute. Are we going to start to see the effect of multiple games 3 days apart start to wear on these guys? Dan, what do you think?
Potentially, but I mean, that's also something you can say about Red Bull, because, obviously our 2 main guys are, Forsberg is 34, 35,
33, and
33,
Choupo's
and
36.
So, I've always been concerned about the workload that these 2 have had. I'm glad they got 15 minutes off at the end of last game. Probably would have taken them off a bit sooner, but he gave them the opportunity to go get their hat tricks. But yeah, that's definitely something to keep an eye on, especially as summer starts, coming along. The weather is getting warmer.
Yep.
We all know how it is with the humidity around the States. So that will be something to watch. Not something that we'll have to worry about this game, but yeah, definitely something we'll have to worry about potentially later in the month when we're, already 7 games deep into the month.
Yeah. This is game 4 of 9 on this odyssey that the Red Bulls will have. After this, there's the Derby. We will be back to preview the Derby later in the week. And then the Open Cup. and then a trip to DC, and then home for Charlotte and for Atlanta, and that closes out May. You have a prediction, sir?
Well, as you brought up, Nashville still has not beaten Red Bull. Red Bull hasn't won on the road this year. I believe that's what you said.
That is, in fact, the case. In the league, they have not won on the road.
In the league, that is correct. I will go with a 1-1 draw.
Listen, these are New York has scored 11 goals in 2 games.
Yeah.
Joe Willis is a seasoned, quality goalkeeper that certainly has his history of beating New York. I'm curious what Schwartz will do, given the fact that the derby is Saturday. I'm wondering if he might give the big two a little bit of a break, or at least see what the kids can build in the first half and maybe save these guys. I mean, no, he saved them for 15 minutes at the end of the match against the Galaxy. Maybe he gives these guys off till the 50th minute and gets them going late if New York needs some help. I'm not concerned in the back. I'm concerned about the guys making the runs, right?
Yeah.
Cam Harper should be ready to go. Yengar should be ready to go. Sofo should be ready to go. The real question is, who's the driver of the attack without Forsberg? We saw Wiki Carmona. It's not what he can do. I don't know if you put Peter Stroud there. I don't know if you put Caravaggio there and say, don't worry about the defense, just try to drive. It's not something he's done a lot of. But, I mean, listen, New York's got to have another guy at the 10. Maybe you play a 4-2-2 and play with an empty bucket. But I'm going to call it a 2-1 Nashville win. It's outrageous in this parity-driven league that Nashville's never beaten New York. This is as good a chance. No, they're playing with a ton of quality. They're playing at home. BJ Callahan has them believing, and I'm going to choose, unless it's a blowout like we saw against Miami. I'll take a 1-goal loss right now. I think the focus, to be frank, should be on Saturday with City. I think that's a more meaningful game. So when we're back on Seeing Red, we're going to talk to our friend and yours, Ben Wright of 615 Soccer, and then we're going to come back and have some fantastic emails. Promise. We'll be right back. Back on Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup. Really excited to have back for the return match against Nashville SC, the return visit on Seeing Red. That's Ben Wright, the executive editor of 615 Soccer. How are you, Ben?
Doing well. We were just talking off air just about how many games there are in May, so I'm treading water here a little bit. But
yes,
yeah, it's not a bad problem to have. Too much soccer is never a bad thing.
Well, it presents an interesting challenge, especially when you have a lot of injured players. And I think Nashville is a little banged up. The Red Bulls are certainly banged up. They continue to work through getting players like Lewis Morgan back, and Cam Harper came back. I'm curious. It's a good place to start. The challenges for Callahan of trying to find the right mix of players to play every 3 days for 4 weeks in a row.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's going to be something that we will see more here in the next couple of weeks, because in MLS, at least, it's been pretty straightforward. That, I mean, he's used the same starting 11 for the last 3 MLS matches, and he's only made 1 change to the squad overall. So he made 11 changes during the Open Cup, so I think that kind of bought them a little bit more time in MLS.
Right.
So now that MLS games are 2 a week here for the next little bit, and then they have Open Cup next week against Orlando, which I think they're going to go pretty heavy for that too. So I think that you're going to see a lot more rotation in kind of first team, like all out to win matches than we've seen before.
When the teams faced off in the second week of the season, the Red Bulls came out on top, and I think the discussion was, as Hani Mukhtar goes, so goes this team. And it took Mukhtar a couple of weeks to get going, but I mean, Nashville SC has won 3 of the last 4, including a cup win. You guys dropped 7 in a game, which the Red Bulls have as well. What has been different about Mukhtar since the early days of the season?
I mean, he always starts slow. I talked to him about that a few weeks ago, and he admits it too. He's always started pretty slowly, and I think it always there's always this narrative at the start of every season that oh, Hani's washed and time to find a new DP, and then he ends up just putting together performance after performance. I think he didn't play in the Open Cup game, so just in the 12 MLS matches so far, he's 5 goals and 4 assists, which is the second most he's ever had through 12 games. So you kind of maybe look back a little bit and be like, you know what, maybe we were hitting the panic button a little bit too early. I think some of the early struggles too weren't even really down to him. I mean, the Red Bulls game and the home opener against the Revolution before that, Nashville basically had one healthy kind of senior midfielder, Eddie Tagseth, and he had kind of started the year out on the wing. So they played 19-year-old Matt Corcoran, who they just signed from the USL Championship, and Wyatt Meyer in midfield. And he was playing his first professional minutes out of the Super Draft. So I think looking back, I think you can make a case that they actually kind of overperformed a little bit and did really well I mean, they drew the Revs and lost 2-0 to the Red Bulls. And I think they were probably, after the first 30 minutes, I thought they were fine. So now that they've kind of got the squad healthy a little bit and have an actual healthy midfield to choose from, I think it looks a lot different.
The interesting thing that stuck out at me when looking at the score sheet and the statistics for Nashville, Nashville has 10 different goal scorers in 12 games. That is wonderfully healthy. Can you talk a little bit about sharing the wealth and everyone kind of contributing in the attack?
It's weird. It's been a problem for the team for 5 seasons, and everybody's known. You mentioned it, kind of as Hani Mukhtar goes, so goes Nashville. And there have been plenty of games where I think he's been pretty good even off the score sheet, but there have been plenty of games where he's not scoring or assisting. And in the past, that's a death sentence for Nashville.
Yeah,
and they actually have depth now and have guys who are getting into good positions and creating and finishing chances. And it's not a lot of. I mean, they've brought in some new players, especially in midfield, but really in the attack, it's kind of the same general group that they had under Gary Smith. I mean, Sam Surridge, Alex Wheel, Jacob Schaffelberg, they're all guys who have been here for a while. Mm-hmm. And I think BJ Callahan just has built a system that functions better and gets them into better spots. And I think you're seeing increased production. I think it's kind of similar to maybe take this in a different way. A similar thing with Walker Zimmerman. I mean, he's been out for over a month at this point. And in the past, that would have been a death sentence for the defense. And they've played fine without him. I mean, I think clearly he's a huge piece of the team and raises the level and everything. But there hasn't been that big of a drop off without him. So I think you're seeing improved depth, but you're also just seeing better performances from the guys who have been here for a while and are on the field.
5-1-1 at home. I don't believe there's a better home record in the East for sure. It may be. There may be an undefeated home team out in the West, but what's been the special sauce at Geodis that other than home support, home cooking, sleeping in your own bed? Is there something magic about what's happening down there?
It's kind of been a weird, just the home form at Geodis. They were great at Nissan Stadium. They had some of the best home record. I think they went a season without losing a game at home. I mean, they had 8 draws thrown in there, so it's maybe a bit of an asterisk there. But I mean, they didn't lose very much at Nissan Stadium. And then once they opened this brand new soccer specific stadium, everybody's like, oh, that's going to continue and maybe improve. And it was really kind of just this weird mismatch. You'd think Nashville seemed like a team built to grind out results at home, and they never really did. I think under Callahan, they've started to, and I think probably a big key is you don't see them sit on leads anymore. In the past, they would go up by a goal and maybe take their foot off the gas a little bit, or maybe shift to more focusing on preventing an equalizer instead of really adding to that. And now, I mean, you saw that against Charlotte this weekend. They went down 2 minutes after halftime. Hani Mukhtar equalized after 90 seconds, and then 3 minutes later, Jacob Schaffelberg scored, and then they kept pushing for a third. I think that's not an outlier either. That's kind of been the consistent thing for them this year. They'll go up and then they'll keep pushing and really try to extend that lead. And that's not something that we've really seen consistently from them. At least you saw it maybe sporadically, but it's like a mindset shift for them.
You know, we mentioned both the Red Bulls and Nashville are in the middle of 9 matches in the month of May, which is, I think, just about stretching the fabric as far as it can go, and depth players are going to be really, really important. You mentioned that they've kind of stuck with this 11 over the last couple of weeks, but as we get into the second week of playing every 3 days, who are the players that maybe got some action against Chattanooga in the Open Cup that might find a way to get some minutes on Wednesday night?
Yeah, so I think one of the big ones might be Wyatt Meyer. He started in midfield against the Red Bulls. Taylor Washington, he's the lone member of Nashville's USL side still on the team. He's been here. He was literally, I think, in the first group of signings ever announced for the team. So he's been here since 2018, fan favorite. He went down with a knee injury in the Open Cup game. We don't have any official confirmation, but it looks like it's not going to be a short-term thing. So Wyatt Meyer is kind of deputized at left back. And depending on how much Dan Lovitz plays, he's 33 and might be one of the guys who needs to get rotated a little bit. You could see Wyatt Meyer in there. And then 2 others who played a lot in the Open Cup game are, MLS veterans, but Brian Acosta and Gaston Brugman, who have kind of, I think Eddie Tagseth and Patrick Kiosbeck have kind of won out in the 2 central midfield roles. But Acosta was a former DP. Brugman was a MLS Cup MVP. They're both pretty solid options. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
you know all that.
We remember
back when the Galaxy were a functional club.
Yeah, we would have certainly loved to have played last week's Galaxy in the MLS Cup, but they probably wouldn't have been there. It's
I
not.
don't think you can make the MLS Cup if you 13 points in
if you're winless. It's so hard in this league to go winless. There's so much parity, and it's a third of the season. And clearly the team quit last week, which was condolences all around. It's not a young team, Nashville. this is a veteran team. I'm curious. I think the biggest challenge will be when you think about the 2 rosters. And the Red Bulls for the first time in a long time have players. They've signed players over the age of 30. They're relying on players over the age of 30, which has really been against type. But I think in the last phases of the game, when you start getting these tough runs of matches, it's really the who you can bring off the bench that's going to make the difference, especially as you get past the 80th minute. I'm curious if there's we've talked a little bit about the young players there, but is there someone coming off the bench that the Red Bulls might have to look out for if when Mukhtar and Surge are kind of spent for the night?
Yeah, it's funny. Nashville, they've talked a lot about like the youth movement and playing young players, and I think they also have the 3rd oldest average age on the field. So it's a weird dichotomy. But I don't think it's like BS either, because they're actually playing kids. BJ Callahan, we already talked about starting Matt Corcoran in those first few games. Johnny Perez is a young guy on loan from the Galaxy, and he's kind of playing a key role. Even guys who are starting, like Patrick Kiosbeck, is a U22 player. Ahmed Qasim has played a lot of minutes as a U22 player, and I don't think that's something that you would have seen in the past under Gary Smith. I don't think those guys would have, frankly, seen more than 5 or 10 minutes in MLS at this point. So they're not afraid to play youth, but I do think it's a pretty veteran-heavy roster. One guy to watch out for, who I will point out, is Chris Applewhite. He's a 17-year-old homegrown center back. He started for them in the Open Cup. He became their first homegrown player to ever start a game. He's the youngest player to play for the club, and I think he has legitimate potential to be a starting caliber MLS center back within the next 2 years or so. You would not know watching him that he's 17 years old. He's just solid defensively, but he's also really good on the ball. And so I think he's one. If he's ready, they will put him on the field. And so I think it's age is not a barrier to playing, which I think it had been for this team in the past.
Haven't mentioned it. I'm sure the team's aware. Nashville's never beaten New York.
Oh, they're aware.
You and I haven't discussed it yet, but I would imagine midweek playing at home where the team is so strong, this is, you just said it. This is top of mind here.
I think so. And I think I certainly would have felt better about a Nashville result going into this one, if not for a 7-0 win last week. And obviously, I mean, not to take anything away from it, I think probably beating the Galaxy for anybody needs a little bit of an asterisk just at this point.
Yep.
But like, still, you beat anybody 7-0, and you go into the next match pretty confident. And I think that's a huge thing, especially in a league like MLS where it's really tough to win on the road. Like that might be the boost they need. So I don't know. I think this is probably Nashville's best shot to win, but this feels like a 1-1 draw or something like that. These teams never play attractive soccer against each other.
No, they certainly don't. It'll be interesting, the confidence level. Reading the national press at the very least after this match, so much of if not all, the focus was on LA. Simply because I don't think the Red Bulls have changed who they are and what they've been over the course of the season. And I think I agree with you 100% about the asterisk. I just think at some point, maybe after this match, someone will make a statement about New York and whether this is actually working or not. And, obviously the biggest goal output from New York for the year, for some years. I agree that you have to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Are the fans excited about this? I mean, weeknight matches traditionally don't draw terribly well across the league. I don't know if Nashville schools are out. Like, is this a big event? This is going to be a big event. I know the Preds are out of the playoffs, so
yeah, we'll see. Schools are still going for, at least my kids are in school for another they get out next Wednesday, so we have about a week left, and I think that's pretty typical. Attendance has been kind of hit or miss at this point. I mean, I think the announced numbers have been, I guess, fairly inflated based on what we're actually seeing. I think they announced 25 and change for the Saturday match, which felt generous. So yeah, and I mean, there's been some off the field stuff as well with La Brigada de Oro, their biggest
yes,
the Latin American supporters group who stayed home because of a lot of the stuff that's happening in Nashville. And I haven't spoken to them since Saturday, but I wouldn't be surprised if that kind of bleeds over to Wednesday. And if it doesn't impact the announced attendance numbers, it definitely impacts the atmosphere. And it was a noticeably just kind of less energetic crowd. So I'm hoping that some of that stuff gets resolved, but I mean, it's not the kind of stuff that gets fixed in days. It
certainly doesn't. And you hate to see, the situation, and you hate to see passionate soccer fans deciding that they probably shouldn't go and support their team.
Right. And it's not like because they don't want to, it's because they legitimately don't feel safe.
I get it.
A ridiculous thing.
Horrific. It's a very strange time. Nevertheless, this was a lovely time, and I appreciate you making the time. That's been Wright of 615 Soccer. Can you tell my Red Bull listeners where they can find you?
Yeah, check out 615soccer.com. You spell it all out. We'll have everything Nashville SC related for this one and just the rest of the season. And then I do stuff at a bunch of other places, but just find me on Blue Sky or Twitter, and I'll post it all there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ben. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
All right, we've got more Seeing Red, your emails, very happy emails after a 7-0 victory, coming up after this short break. Keep it here. The dulcet tones means you're back at Seeing Red, the New York Soccer Roundup, still basking in the glow of a 7-0 beatdown of the defending MLS Cup champs. That felt good. My goodness, it did. You can write us anytime, seeingredny@gmail.com. We're going to read some emails now, some very happy emails. And I will tell you that Dan really wanted this first one. And so Dan is going to read from our friend Michael Brand.
Yeah, from Michael Brand. How y'all doing? Mike B from South Carolina via Morristown, New Jersey. Shout out to you. First time, long time, but goddamn, 7-0. We sure this is Red Bull? Fave part was the FLA chants, clearly heard on TV. From being in LA at the final, this is so sweet. Busy month, we need to keep it up. This game had it all. Coronel locking it down, a fight, an own goal, 2 braces. Here we go. Solid RB week with Open Cup play. Man, this feels good. has to be the biggest MLS win this season. 7-goal shutout. Love the podcast. Makes my week. Missed you before the Miami game. Cheers. Do it for Joe. Thank you, Mike B.
Thank you, Mike B. First time, long time. I'm a big fan of that. Thank you for taking the time to write. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember a better week for this club, unless you count making MLS Cup in 2008 and 2024. Like, this was a perfect week. They outscored their opponents 11-1. They advanced in the Open Cup. They exacted some revenge on the Galaxy. I know Steve Cangelosi had a ball on the call, and the crowd was big and the crowd was engaged. And how could you not be? New York definitely made some lifelong fans, I think.
Yeah. I mean, first of all, I got to bring up the FLA chant. I mean, obviously that there was a good sized traveling Galaxy fans contingent there, so shout out to them. But they started a F New Jersey chant. So my question is, they don't play in LA, so it should have been F Carson, right?
As long as we're consulting our atlas, I'm sorry, Google Maps before we yes, like he without sin cast the first stone there, right? So
yeah, so I think you got to just play it both ways. So that's my first thought that popped in my head when those first started going at it. And funny thing was the Galaxy fans were trying to chirp this little section of like little kids next to them, but the kids were giving it back. They were saying LA sucks, LA sucks. So I was like, they're having a real fun time with it. So a great crowd. The first one of I believe it's the Messi campaign.
Yes.
So I forgot that was the first game, and I was like, wow, a lot of people here. But hey, great marketing tool. 23,000 people showed up. So 4 more. They got to get 4 more wins or draws at home, the next 4, and you get a free Messi ticket. So
that's I mean, this was the biggest crowd in years, frankly, at the arena. And
other than a city game,
other than a city game. So big ups to the team for making it happen. They didn't disappoint. I'm sure holders of that package would have loved to see the 7 goals stretched out a little bit, spread those out, save those for the next one. But still, very, very good. Thank you, Michael, for your first ever email. Thank you for knowing Joe as well. We appreciate it. Our friend Jimmy Hoffa says, "Dear Mark and Dan, I hope you're basking the beauties of the white wedding. Yesterday, the team went out and did what they were supposed to do and more. Beautiful, cathartic for all involved. I praise Sandro for not taking his foot off the gas either. A question for you. What is your opinion on the season being a marathon/sprint and the meaning? Too often I see Red Bull fans buying the framing that the front office used to justify horrible runs of play during the season with the justification that you just have to be in it to win it and just get 8th place. Realistically, 7th, 8th wild card low seeds win championships at very low odds in any sport, and last year we had a historic run. I believe we were the first ever to win 3 away games in the playoffs. Fact check me here. I am unable to fact check. I'm sorry. My apologies.
I'll take your word.
Yeah, sure. My opinion is that even though there is no pro rel, the regular season does matter. Imagine if we were the higher seed last year. Maybe this game and result would have been a final at home. Maybe LA would have had to travel across the country. I think playing at home, being the higher seed, gelling as a team, having success is important. And we've been trained by this team to throw away regular season results. A game like yesterday matters for both confidence and morale. Your thoughts, sincerely, Jimmy Hoffa. Thank you, Jimmy. From beyond the grave, what is your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, right. I think I kind of agree with him, but I also kind of disagree because I'm always a proponent of just get in. Anything can happen in playoffs. We've seen it in hockey for a lot of times. The LA Kings in the early 2010s, both times, low season, they go on to win the cup. So it happens more often than people might perceive. But I also agree, being the home team also matters. Getting home field advantage. Sometimes it might not work out, like we've seen with Red Bull all those years of making, having good regular seasons and then falling flat in the playoffs. Sometimes it doesn't work, but I'm always the proponent of just get in. But the higher you finish, the better, because the more home games, the better. Not only just for the players themselves to be in a familiar environment, but also, more revenue for the club and, other things that come along with having a home game.
Yeah, I mean, the team has made the playoffs for 15 years in a row. It's really hard to do. It's really hard to do.
Yeah.
To make the playoffs 15 years in a row.
In any sport.
In any sport.
Yeah.
And yes, at times the Red Bulls have been helped by always changing, perennially changing playoff formats that continue to add more and more teams. But I don't believe, the regular season absolutely means something.
Yes.
Because you can't make the playoffs unless you go through the regular season. I think Red Bull fans are taking for granted that the team's going to make playoffs every year. There will be a year where they don't make it.
Yeah, eventually it will come to an end, but hopefully it's not this year.
Hopefully it's not this year. We see more opportunities like we saw this past week. I think it's going to be okay, but I just think the notion that the team is aiming for the middle of the table, I think, is not the case. I think the team, we've talked, you and I, and listeners and us, about the idea that the team is not doing everything they can to win an MLS Cup. I think it came out, the remaining GAM for the year was released by the league. I think the Red Bulls have like 1.7 million of GAM left. There was a report this week that Timo Werner would be going back to Leipzig and would not be coming to the Red Bulls. But there are plenty of attractive strikers. Maybe they're a little bit younger. Maybe they have a little less of a pedigree that could be had for that 1.7 million if the Red Bulls don't spend it because they think things are just going to be okay. I think everyone is absolutely right to say, what are we really doing here?
Yeah.
But
I'll just say this. I think they need at least one more, in quotations, big move for the starting 11 to kind of deepen the squad. And I think there will be at least one move. Who is it? I don't know. We'll have to see. What, less than 2 months away from July coming around. So, more names are available this time of year with European soccer seasons coming to an end. So we'll see. Obviously the scouting department's out there. So, that's what they get paid to do. So,
right.
We'll see.
And Lewis Morgan was due to start training with the team this past Sunday. So we'll know tomorrow what his status is. He certainly isn't going to be ready for Nashville, nor would I throw him out against Nashville.
Sandro did say after the game that he was joining team training
this week.
So
right. You have the next. Thank you, Jimmy. You have the next email. It's from Adam Lane.
Yep, Adam Lane. Dear Seeing Red faithful, we should all surely see this result as a continuation of mythical battle of the soccer gods. Red Bull is on an unprecedented and seemingly unstoppable run towards the 2024 MLS Cup, which appeared written into the script by ours for the taking. But alas, the god of Metro said, "Nay, I know how things should be." A last-minute scratch from the starting lineup, and it was over before it began. Fast forward to this past Saturday night, and one might see a 7-0 result as a realignment by Mother Soccer to how things should have been, or just RB on the upswing of a frustrating string of injuries taking it out on a miserable LA Galaxy. Thanks and happy Mother's Day, Adam from Stratford.
Nice. You're not going to tell me that a regular season match in May equals MLS Cup, and in fact, Schwartz before the game said that it was a new year and a different team, and they weren't really thinking revenge. I think we'd all be hard pressed to say at the start of the playoffs we could see New York getting through the playoffs and playing an MLS Cup. So I don't think New York had a grudge against LA. They competed against them. They you can make arguments that they probably could have gotten a second goal, and from there, who knows what would have happened. I think you could also argue that LA was a better team on the day, and that late change to the starting lineup definitely hurt, and it is what it is. But yes, it was nice to have a day in the sun, and in previous years, this game would have been on national television and would have garnered, I think, a bit of an attention. And wouldn't that have been nice to see? So, yeah, I think it was nice to have a day in the moon or in the sun. What do you think?
I will say after the game, a lot of people kind of were pushing for that revenge narrative to come out of the players' mouths, and for most of them, I think it was just another game, and it happened to be LA Galaxy. Obviously, when you see the name LA Galaxy, it's a bit. I would say you get up for a bit more, but to call it a revenge game, I don't know. It's again, they're missing their three DPs. Like, it's a completely different team. What's revenge for? You're not going to get the MLS Cup out of it. So, cool, you got 3 points. I'd much rather be the LA Galaxy, bottom of the table in the Western Conference with 2024 MLS Cup. So I don't know what specifically revenge. Sure, it felt nice. So, but other than the 3 points, I don't see any other thing out of this result for Red Bull.
Yeah, agreed. Thank you so much, Adam.
Thank
Nick
you, Adam.
Partika with the last email of the night. Mark and Dan, great win. Bull of the match goes to ML Forsberg for sure. That said, personally, I don't feel any revenge was exacted even at 7-0. Yeah. There's no number of lopsided regular season wins against them. I would not trade for the one that would have really mattered. To me, this Galaxy squad is just a shadow of the one the Red Bulls face in MLS Cup. They're so depleted in such dreadful form. Real revenge for me would have been beating a healthy team in at least average form. In any event, 3 points is 3 points. Hopefully the team takes some confidence out of the last couple of matches and can start scoring goals more consistently against better quality opponents than a USL side and literally the worst team in MLS. They're going to have that chance on Wednesday. On another note, I'll be attending my first Red Bulls game this month. Very much looking forward to it. What tips do you have for someone visiting the Red Bull Sports Illustrated Stadium in the Jar for the first time? That's Nick Partika, who's been writing for a very long time. I'm very excited that Nicholas is getting to go to his first Red Bulls game. Do you have favorite things that you go and do?
I would just say get there as early as possible. Traffic is a bad word. Sometimes, most of the time. Yeah. There's just a lot of things to do outside the stadium beforehand. It's always cool to see everybody participating in everything out there. I think Red Bull does a good job, with their interactive stuff that they do beforehand. And I'm always a guy that likes to watch warm-ups. I'm always into that stuff, whatever sport it is, football, hockey, other sports like that. I'm always there pregame just to see what everybody's doing on the field. So yeah, I would just say get there early and just have fun. I think Sports Illustrated Stadium is a fun time, especially when Red Bull is winning. So hopefully they are winning that game that you show up to.
Yeah. I would certainly echo Dan in saying that you want to be in Harrison. You want to be there 60 to 90 minutes before the game. To attempt to enter Harrison closer to an hour before the game kicks off is not a recipe for success. I think that you should visit the Crossbar if you're of age and want to go grab a drink. It's a nice kind of in the stadium, out of the stadium, nice little thing. They have some live music playing. As Dan said, there are a lot of interactive games that are going on in front, mostly for kids. Do a loop of the stadium. Go and explore. Yep. See all there is to see. I will tell you that there are game day experiences that the stadium team is now put up for sale. For instance, you can carry a flag on the sideline for a price, mind you, but if this is your first time and it's a special day, you might want to consider doing that. There's also, I think, a pregame handshake tunnel that you can take part of. And again, it does cost a bit, but it would certainly add to anyone's first ever experience at Red Bull Arena. I would wander around during the game, and I would want to be near the supporters, or at least the back of the supporters, and really hear them going, driving the game. I think that'd be really fun to see. And yeah, stay after, especially if it's a win. The team will come out, even if it's not a win, the team will come out and ring the stadium, will sign autographs and things like that. So, but a great question, and hopefully good weather, and hopefully it'll be a blast. So we appreciate you coming out. We appreciate you watching and listening to this episode of Seeing Red. I will tell you that we are thinking about considering a live YouTube watch along of Wednesday night's game, which could be fun. Daniel's hearing about this for the first time. Maybe he'll be free to take part. Maybe he won't. Hopefully he will. We'll talk about it when we're done. Daniel, where can people find you?
You can find me at areasportsnetwork.com. I post on there most part for Red Bulls stuff. And you can also find me on Bad Dog Sports as well for any hockey stuff going on. Off seasons starting for us in the metropolitan area.
Sadly, yes.
So fun off season for everybody. Shout out to the Islanders getting the first pick. So that should be fun for them.
Awesome. I want to thank Dan for taking part. I want to thank Ben Wright for stopping by. Always a great guest. And thanks to Zach Feldman for stats as always. We will be back later this week to preview NYCFC for sure in the first Hudson Derby match of the year. For Dan, I'm Mark Fishkin saying thank you so much. Like, subscribe if you've hung out this long with us. We'll be back soon, folks. Have a great night. Bye-bye.